Hi, I'm Kaylee, and this is my review of the collection of poems, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. The Adventures of Tom Bombadil is 16 poems, which is included here in the Tolkien Reader. I chose to reread these poems from Tolkien to fulfill one of the prompts for the June Journeys with Inklings Readathon, which is to read some poetry from one of the Inklings. I think this was my third or fourth time reading through this poetry collection, and I just love it more and more every time that I reread it. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you love Tolkien, and follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram and Storygraph and all the places. This collection of poems is set in the world of Middle-earth, and it's the perfect companion to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien wrote these poems as if they had been written by Bilbo, Frodo, and Sam, and included in the Red Book along with all the stories of their adventures. It's really interesting to see how each poem is written in a slightly different style, depending on who is supposed to have written it. The first two poems center around Tom Bombadil and his silly adventures through the wood, and how he first fell in love with his wife Goldberry. Tom encounters some dangerous characters in the Old Forest as he is boating down the Windle River. He faces off against the Badgers and Old Man Willow and a Barrow Wight, and he just commands them to leave him alone. These two poems are supposed to have been composed by hobbits in Buckland, on the edge of the Old Forest, because they would have more knowledge of Bombadil being so close to his own haunts. Errantry is my favorite poem in this collection. It tells of a fairy messenger who goes on an errand to deliver a message, but gets distracted by adventures. He falls in love with a beautiful butterfly, but she refuses to marry him. So he goes off to war and battles against the bees, and then takes a ship to faraway islands, and he finally remembers his original errand. So the messenger sets out once again to deliver the message, but once more becomes distracted by further adventures. This poem was supposedly written by Bilbo as a circular storytelling joke. That seems like exactly the sort of prank that Bilbo would love, to start the whole poem again at the beginning until everyone would groan in protest. The reason that it is my favorite is just the utter enchantment of the word structure. It starts off, "There was a merry passenger, a messenger, a mariner. He built a gilded gondola to wander in, and had in her a load of yellow oranges." And it just continues on with this very vivid imagery and these really rich words. Absolutely gorgeous. Princess Me is about a little fairy dancer who sees her reflection in the water and thinks that it is another dancing fairy. It's really sweet and adorable, and the illustration for this poem is my favorite of all the artwork included here, because the fairy dancer is so delicate and surrounded by stars and glittering dew. There are two poems featuring the Man in the Moon, where the Man in the Moon comes down to Earth and causes complete chaos. Both poems are complete nonsense and very silly, kind of like Hey Diddle Diddle, the Cat and the Fiddle, because there are dishes running around with spoons, and there are cows and dogs dancing, and horses standing on their heads, all sorts of silly fun. So we know that the Stone Troll is written by Sam Gamgee because he recites it in The Fellowship of the Ring when he and Frodo and their friends discover the trolls that Bilbo had tricked into the sunlight, where they were turned to stone. So this poem tells of an altercation between a troll and a person named Tom. It's not really clear if it's Tom Bombadil or it's just some regular person named Tom. And they argue over the old shin bone of Tom's uncle, which bone the troll has been gnawing. It fits perfectly with the sort of lighthearted and funny poem that you would expect from a clever but uneducated hobbit like Sam. Sam Gamgee also wrote Perry the Winkle, about a troll who wants to be friends with hobbits, but no one will trust him. The troll invites Perry to tea, and Perry accepts the invitation, and they enjoy so much delicious food together that Perry starts to get fat. Well, then all the hobbits want to sample the troll's wonderful cooking once they see how well Perry has fared. But the troll turns them out and he only cooks for Perry the Winkle. Whenever I reread this collection, I always skip over the Mewlips because it freaks me out. It's about these nasty little creatures who creep up and strangle their prey, and they are dark and evil and the stuff of nightmares, and it creeps me out. So I don't reread that one because the first time that I read it, it gave me nightmares. Really creepy. This collection also includes the Oliphaunt rhyme that Sam recites when he sees the elephant and mammoth creature in Gondor. Now, Sam insists that the rhyme is not of his own making, but is actually traditional to the Shire. Similarly, the Fastitocalon. I have no idea. But it's about this massive creature, but this time it's a huge sea turtle with a back so wide and large that ships mistake it for an island. When they land on the turtle's back for a picnic or a rest, the turtle then flips over and drowns them all. So the poem ends with a warning to all sailors to never land on uncharted shores. The Cat is another short poem from Sam Gamgee, which begins, "The fat cat on the mat may seem to dream of nice mice that suffice." This simple poem is written in a childish style that is just right for a hobbit father teaching a cute little poem to his hobbit children. The Shadow Bride is about a woman who is captured to be the bride of a shadow creature and live in underground caves. However, they seem to live fairly happily together, and once a year they come out to dance under the night sky. The Hoard is about a treasure of dwarven and elvish gold that corrupts the hearts of all who own it. A dwarf dies alone in his cave. A dragon dies of old age in his hoard. A king dies in his ruined kingdom, all because they loved the gold. This poem reflects ancient elvish tales and was certainly derived from the stories of Mim, the dwarf, and others that are contained in the Silmarillion. So it's possible that Bilbo or Frodo heard those ancient tales in Rivendell and then wrote them into this poem. So the original manuscript of the Sea Bell is said to have had Frodo's dream written across the top, since Frodo certainly dreamed several times of the sea before he eventually crossed the sea at the end of his journey. The poem begins with a hopeful and light adventure, but then it falls into dark imagery and fear. And in the end, the adventurer is left entirely alone, reflecting Frodo's distressed mindset after his own adventures. The final poem in the collection is The Last Ship, which tells the story of Firiel, a human maiden who is invited to go with the elves across the sea to the Undying Lands. But she was unable to join them because her life was rooted in the soil of Middle-earth. The glittering elven ship sails past her down the river as the elves sing of the beauty of the land where they are going. But Firiel is left to return to her humble home and go about her regular work with only the memory of their song fading into the distance. Every poem in this collection is brilliant. They're easy to read and understand, the perfect introduction for those who perhaps are not familiar with poetry or just don't care for poetry. I love the enchantment of the writing, the beautiful words. The marriage of meter and rhyme is absolute perfection. The words go tripping along like sunlight skittering across the water, or they slide through your thoughts with a heavy weight of darkness and long eras of history. Tolkien was truly a word master in both prose and poetry. And that's why I always give The Adventures of Tom Bombadil 5 stars. Please leave me a comment and let us know, what is some of your favorite poetry? Do you enjoy the poetry that is scattered throughout The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings? And if you've read The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, which one of these 16 poems is your favorite? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.